Little girl stops Millionaire for a hug, but when he learns who she is, he collapses in tears. On a cold, rainy night, a wealthy businessman, busy, cold, and always in a rush, hurries toward his luxury car, shielding himself from the downpour. But just as he reaches for the door, a little girl, soaked to the bone and shivering, tugs gently at the sleeve of his expensive suit. Annoyed, he tries to pull away, thinking she's about to beg him for money. But then, with a trembling voice and tears streaming down her cheeks, she whispers, "Mister, can I have a hug? No one wanted to hug me today." For a moment, he freezes, uncomfortable, unsure, but something in her eyes makes him stop. Slowly, he kneels down to her level, asking carefully, "Why are you out here alone?" That's when she pulls out a crumpled letter from her small coat pocket and says, "My daddy told me to give this to the man who changed his life before he went to heaven." Confused and taken aback, the millionaire takes the letter and begins to read. Inside, it's a heartfelt message from her late father, a man the millionaire had unknowingly helped years ago when he was just a desperate young man on the edge. A small act of kindness from the millionaire had saved him. Something he had long forgotten. Now, with her father gone, the little girl had only one wish: to meet the man her daddy called his hero, and to get a hug, because her father always said this man had a good heart. As the words sink in, the millionaire's hands start to tremble. Tears, the kind he hadn't shed in years, stream down his face as he falls to his knees on the sidewalk, broken and overwhelmed. The rain pours harder, but neither of them moves. In that moment, everything changes, the ending. He picks her up in his arms, promising that she will never be alone again. That night, not only does he take her home, but he makes a life-changing decision to give her the family and love she thought she'd lost forever. And deep down he knows, maybe it was fate that brought them together under the rain. The rain fell in heavy sheets, transforming the urban landscape into a canvas of glistening shadows and muted reflections. Michael Hartley walked with the measured precision of a man who had long ago mastered the art of moving through life without truly experiencing it. His tailored Brioni suit, impervious to the water, seemed to repel not just the rain, but any hint of vulnerability that might dare to penetrate. Its expensive fabric, 45 years old, with salt and pepper hair and eyes that had seen countless business deals close with ruthless efficiency, Michael was the epitome of corporate success. As CEO of Hartley Innovations, a technology conglomerate that had revolutionized digital infrastructure across the United States, he had built an empire from sheer determination and an uncanny ability to see opportunities where others saw obstacles. Tonight was like any other night in downtown Chicago. The streets glistened under the streetlights, and the wind carried a bitter chill that seemed to cut through even the most resilient spirits. Michael's black Mercedes waited just a few steps away, a sentinel of luxury amidst the urban landscape. His mind was already racing through tomorrow's merger meetings, the potential acquisition of a promising AI startup that could add another few million to his already substantial portfolio. Numbers, strategies, potential returns. These were the currencies of his world. Emotion was a luxury he had long since considered an inefficient investment. As his hand reached for the car door handle, a slight tug interrupted his mechanical movement. At first, he thought it was perhaps a stray piece of newspaper caught in the wind, but the touch was distinctly human, small, trembling, desperate. Michael turned, his initial reaction a mixture of annoyance and practiced indifference. Street encounters were something his security team typically managed, but something about this interruption felt different. A little girl stood before him, her thin cotton dress soaked through, clinging to her fragile frame like a second skin. Her dark hair was matted against her pale face, and her eyes, large, brown, impossibly deep, held a vulnerability that seemed to challenge everything Michael had constructed in his carefully controlled world. "Mister," she whispered, her voice barely audible above the rain's persistent rhythm, "can I have a hug? No one wanted to hug me today." For a moment, the world seemed to pause. The rain continued its relentless descent, but Michael felt suspended in a moment that defied his usual logic. Annoyance, his default response to unexpected human interactions, began to dissolve. Slowly, almost against his own practiced instincts, Michael knelt down. His expensive wool coat brushed against the wet pavement, a detail he would normally find intolerable. But something in the child's eyes demanded a different response. "Why are you out here alone?" he asked, his voice softer than he had spoken in years. The little girl's hands, blue from the cold, reached into her small coat pocket. Her movements were deliberate, almost ritualistic. From within, she extracted a folded piece of paper, clearly treasured, carefully preserved despite the rain and her obvious hardship. "My daddy told me to give this to the man who changed his life before he went to heaven." Michael's fingers trembled slightly as he accepted the weathered envelope. The paper was soft, almost translucent from moisture and repeated handling. His initial skepticism began to give way to a strange sense of anticipation. The letterhead was faded, but still legible. As he unfolded the document, the handwriting emerged, a mix of careful script and emotional urgency, the kind of writing that spoke of both hope and desperation. "Dear Mr. Hartley," the letter began, "you won't remember me, but 15 years ago you saved my life in ways you could never imagine." Michael's breath caught in his throat. He had made countless business decisions, signed countless checks, but something about this moment felt different. The rain continued to fall around them, creating a private cocoon of intimacy on the bustling Chicago street. The letter went on to describe a moment from years past, a time when the writer, then a struggling young engineer named David Rodriguez, had been on the verge of losing everything. Facing bankruptcy, with a newborn daughter and a wife battling a serious illness, he had approached Hartley Innovations seeking a small grant for a revolutionary medical technology prototype. Most executives would have dismissed him immediately, but Michael, or more precisely, a version of Michael from before he became completely hardened by success, had seen something in the young man's proposal. A small seed funding of $50,000 had been provided, not as a charitable act but as a calculated risk on potential innovation. That funding had been the lifeline David needed. The prototype eventually became a breakthrough medical diagnostic tool that was now used in hospitals across the country. It had not only saved his family financially, but had also created opportunities for countless other researchers and patients. "You might not remember," the letter continued, "but you gave me hope when I had none. You gave my daughter a future when I thought all was lost." Michael's hands were shaking now. Memories he had long suppressed began to surface, moments of compassion from earlier in his career, before success had calcified his heart. The little girl watched him intently, her eyes holding a wisdom far beyond her years. "My name is Eleanor," she said softly, "and Daddy always said you were his guardian angel." The weight of those words settled between them like a tangible presence. Michael felt something crack inside him, a carefully constructed wall of professional detachment that had protected him for decades was now crumbling under the gentle gaze of this child. "Where is your mother?" he asked, his voice unexpectedly gentle. Elena's eyes dimmed, a shadow of profound loss passing across her young face. "She died when I was 3. Daddy and we were just the two of us, until he got sick last month." The rain seemed to soften, as if responding to the child's quiet grief. Michael realized he was still kneeling, his expensive coat now thoroughly soaked, completely oblivious to the professional image he had always meticulously maintained. "Cancer," Eleanor continued, her matter-of-fact tone belying the depth of her pain. "The doctors tried everything, but Daddy said sometimes life has other plans." Michael's mind raced. David Rodriguez, the brilliant engineer whose innovation had become a cornerstone in medical diagnostics. He remembered now. That small investment had not just been a business decision, but a moment of unexpected human connection. "Do you have anyone?" he asked, already knowing the answer. Elena shook her head. No grandparents, no relatives willing to take her in. The system was preparing to move her into foster care, a prospect that seemed to terrify her more than the cold, wet night. Something unprecedented happened in that moment. Michael Hartley, the ruthless CEO, the man who had negotiated billion-dollar deals with less emotion than most people used to order coffee, felt tears forming in his eyes. The letter was still clutched in his hand, David's final message a testament to gratitude, hope, and the unexpected ways human kindness could ripple through lives. "Would you like to be warm?" Michael asked Elena, his voice breaking. She nodded, her small body still trembling from the cold. Without hesitation, Michael removed his coat and wrapped it around her tiny frame. Then, in a gesture that would have been unimaginable just moments earlier, he lifted her into his arms. The streets of Chicago continued their nighttime rhythm, unaware that a life was about to change forever. Michael's driver, Marcus, had been waiting in the Mercedes, watching the scene unfold with a mixture of confusion and concern. When his boss approached the car with a small child wrapped in his expensive coat, Marcus's professional composure barely masked his surprise. "Home, sir?" Marcus asked, his eyebrows slightly raised. "No," Michael responded, his voice carrying a newfound determination. "My private residence." The drive was silent, punctuated only by Elena's occasional soft shivers. Michael noticed how small she was, how vulnerable. Her shoes were worn, her clothes threadbare, a stark contrast to the luxury surrounding them. His penthouse overlooked Lake Michigan, a testament to his professional success. Floor-to-ceiling windows revealed a panoramic view of the city, its lights creating a constellation of human ambition. But tonight, those lights seemed different, softer, more compassionate. Maria Rodriguez, his longtime housekeeper, was already preparing a room when they arrived. She had worked for Michael for over a decade and had never seen him bring home a child, let alone look so emotionally vulnerable. "Warm bath," Michael instructed her. "Fresh clothes, something comfortable." Maria, sensing something profound, was happening, simply nodded. Her experienced hands quickly prepared a space for Elena, drawing a warm bath and selecting soft, child-sized pajamas from a guest room that had remained unused for years. While Elena bathed, Michael retreated to his study. David's letter lay spread before him, each word a testament to a moment of kindness he had almost forgotten. Photographs from the medical conference where David had first presented his groundbreaking diagnostic tool were carefully preserved in a file. The technology had revolutionized early cancer detection, saving thousands of lives. Michael had long viewed it as a strategic investment, never fully comprehending the human story behind the innovation. Now, everything felt different. Eleanor emerged from the bathroom, wearing pale blue pajamas that seemed to swallow her small frame. Her wet hair was combed back, revealing a face that carried both profound sadness and a remarkable resilience. "Are you hungry?" Michael asked. She nodded, a tentative smile breaking through her earlier grief. As Maria prepared a light meal, Michael realized he was experiencing something entirely new, a sense of responsibility that transcended business contracts and financial strategies. The kitchen, typically a sterile space more suited to catering events than family meals, now felt intimate and warm. Maria placed a plate of grilled cheese sandwiches and warm tomato soup in front of Elena, who looked at the food with a mixture of hunger and hesitation. "It's okay," Michael said softly, sitting across from her. "You can eat." Eleanor took small, careful bites, as if each morsel was precious. Michael observed her, noticing the way her hands, small and delicate, moved with a precision that reminded him of her father's engineering background. "Tell me about your dad," Michael prompted, genuinely curious. Her eyes lit up, momentarily dispelling the grief that had surrounded her. She spoke about David Rodriguez with a child's unfiltered admiration, how he would explain complex scientific concepts during bedtime stories, how he'd work late into the night on his research, how he always made time to read her books and play board games. "He said every problem has a solution," Eleanor explained. "Even when Mommy was sick, he never gave up hope." Michael felt something stir within him, a recognition of a spirit he had once possessed but had buried beneath years of corporate ambition. David's approach to life, seeing challenges as opportunities, maintaining hope in the face of adversity, was precisely what Michael had abandoned along his path to success. As the night deepened, Michael made a decision. He would not just provide temporary shelter, he would ensure Elena's future was secure. Legal documents began forming in his mind: guardianship, education trust, medical provisions. But more than legal frameworks, he wanted to honor David's legacy. to provide the kind of support and opportunity that David would have wanted for his daughter. "Would you like to see your father's work?" Michael asked, pulling out a digital presentation of the medical diagnostic technology. Elena's eyes widened with wonder. The holographic display flickered to life, transforming Michael's study into an immersive landscape of scientific innovation. Intricate 3D models of cellular structures rotated slowly, revealing the groundbreaking diagnostic algorithm David Rodriguez had developed. Elena leaned forward, her small fingers tracing the holographic projections with a curiosity that was unmistakably inherited from her father. "Daddy used to say these lines could save lives," she whispered, pointing to a complex molecular interaction diagram. Michael watched, fascinated. The child's understanding was remarkable. She wasn't just looking but comprehending. Each movement, each glance suggested an intelligence that went beyond her years. "Do you like science?" he asked. "More than anything," Elena responded, her eyes never leaving the holographic display. "Daddy said science is like magic, but with math." As the night progressed, Michael realized this encounter was more than a chance meeting. It felt like a deliberate intersection of lives, a moment orchestrated by something beyond mere coincidence. He began explaining the technical details of her father's work, simplifying complex concepts into language a child could understand. Elena listened intently, her questions sharp and insightful. Maria watched from the doorway, witnessing a transformation she had never expected to see in Michael Hartley, a man becoming human again. The first rays of dawn began filtering through the study's expansive windows, casting a soft golden light across the room. Elena had fallen asleep on the leather sofa, surrounded by holographic projections of her father's scientific work. Her small hand still rested near a molecular diagram, as if even in sleep she remained connected to her father's legacy. Michael covered her with a cashmere throw, his movements uncharacteristically gentle. The ruthless CEO the world knew would be unrecognizable in this moment, a man looking at a child with something approaching tenderness. His phone buzzed. Corporate emails, urgent messages, board meeting notifications, the constant pulse of his previous life. But for the first time in years, Michael felt no urgency to respond immediately. Maria entered silently, placing a cup of coffee beside him. "She looks like her father," she said softly. Michael nodded. The resemblance was striking, not just physical, but in the way Elena's eyes held a curious intelligence, the same spark of potential that David Rodriguez had possessed. Legal complications would be inevitable. Guardianship, inheritance, Elena's future. These were complex matters that would require careful navigation. But for the first time, Michael saw these as opportunities rather than obstacles. He made a series of discreet phone calls to his personal attorney, to the Children's Services Department, to colleagues who could help trace Elena's remaining family connections. Each call was a deliberate step towards ensuring Elena's security and future. By mid-morning, Michael's study had transformed into a strategic command center. Legal documents spread across the mahogany desk, each paper representing a potential pathway for Elena's future. His personal attorney, Rebecca Chen, arrived within 2 hours of his initial call. A Harvard-trained legal expert known for her precision and compassion, she understood immediately the complexity of the situation. "We'll need DNA verification, complete medical records, and a comprehensive background check on David Rodriguez," Rebecca explained, her fingers dancing across a tablet, already initiating multiple investigations. Eleanor, now awake and dressed in clothes Maria had quickly purchased, watched the adults with a mixture of curiosity and apprehension. She sat quietly, clutching a small notebook that had belonged to her father, her most treasured possession. Michael noticed her watching and approached, kneeling to her eye level. "Are you okay?" he asked. "I'm scared," Elena admitted honestly, "but Daddy always said being scared doesn't mean being weak. It means you're about to be brave." Those words, so simple yet profound, struck Michael with unexpected emotion. David's influence was evident in every aspect of his daughter's personality: her resilience, her intellectual curiosity, her emotional intelligence. Rebecca's tablet pinged. Preliminary background checks were already revealing a remarkable story. David Rodriguez had not just been a brilliant engineer, but a single father who had dedicated his entire life to scientific research and his daughter's education. Medical records confirmed David's terminal cancer diagnosis and, more critically, verified Elena's direct lineage. Every document painted a picture of a man who had overcome tremendous odds, transforming a small opportunity into a life-changing medical innovation. "We'll file for temporary guardianship immediately," Rebecca told Michael. "Given the circumstances and your historical connection to David, the process should be relatively straightforward." Michael's world, previously defined by corporate acquisitions and strategic investments, was now being redesigned around a small, vulnerable child who represented everything he had forgotten about human potential. The next few days became a whirlwind of legal proceedings and personal transformations. Michael's corporate team was stunned by his sudden shift in priorities. Board meetings were rescheduled, critical negotiations postponed, all to ensure Elena's immediate needs were met. A team of child psychologists was discreetly consulted to help Elena process her grief and transition. They were impressed by her remarkable resilience, noting how her father's scientific approach to understanding emotions seemed deeply ingrained in her personality. Elena's room in Michael's penthouse was transformed into a sanctuary of learning. Bookshelves were installed, filled with scientific journals, children's books, and educational materials. A custom-designed study area reflected both her intellectual curiosity and her need for comfort. Maria became more than just a housekeeper. She transformed into a nurturing presence, understanding the delicate emotional landscape Elena was navigating. She prepared meals that reminded Elena of her father's favorites, shared stories, and provided a sense of stability. One evening, as Michael worked in his study, Elena approached him with her father's notebook. "Daddy was working on something important," she said, spreading out complex diagrams. "He said it could change how we understand genetic mutations." Michael recognized the potential immediately. The preliminary research David had been conducting could revolutionize cancer treatment. It was unfinished work, a scientific puzzle waiting to be solved. "Would you like to complete your father's research?" Michael asked, a new idea forming. Elena's eyes sparkled with a mixture of hope and excitement. "Could we?" The Hartley Foundation, previously known for standard corporate philanthropy, would now have a new mission. A dedicated research wing would be established, specifically to continue David Rodriguez's groundbreaking work. Legal proceedings moved quickly. Elena's guardianship was granted temporarily, with a clear path to permanent adoption. Michael discovered he was experiencing emotions he had long suppressed, a sense of purpose beyond financial success, etc. Transformation wasn't just external, but deeply internal. Michael began restructuring Hartley Innovations, introducing programs that prioritized human potential over pure profit margins. Scholarships were established for children of researchers, mentorship programs were created, and a percentage of company profits were redirected towards medical research funding. Elena's presence had become a catalyst for profound change. During her first week at school, Michael personally accompanied her. The private institution, one of Chicago's most prestigious, had never seen a CEO so personally invested in a student's first day. Eleanor, dressed in a crisp navy uniform, walked with a confidence that belied her recent loss. Her teachers were immediately struck by her exceptional intelligence. Advanced placement tests revealed she was years ahead in mathematics and scientific comprehension. The school's principal suggested she might benefit from specialized academic programs. "We have a gifted student program," the principal explained to Michael. Eleanor could potentially take advanced courses, typically reserved for high school seniors, despite being only 9 years old. Michael listened intently, remembering David's own journey, a brilliant mind who had overcome significant obstacles. He saw in Elena not just a child to be protected, but a potential bridge between scientific innovation and human compassion. Weekends became sacred time. Michael, who had previously spent such moments in corporate strategy sessions, now dedicated entire days to Elena's education and emotional development. They would visit museums, attend scientific lectures, and spend hours discussing everything from quantum physics to children's literature. Maria observed these moments with quiet satisfaction. The man who had once been nothing more than a driven corporate executive was becoming a father, learning, growing, transforming. As months passed, Eleanor's presence continued to reshape Michael's world in unexpected ways. The corporate landscape began to notice changes in Hartley Innovations, a newfound emphasis on human-centric research, more compassionate employee programs, and initiatives that prioritized social impact alongside financial growth. During a critical board meeting, Michael introduced a revolutionary proposal. The company would establish the David Rodriguez Memorial Research Center, dedicated to advancing medical technologies that could help families facing critical health challenges. The board, initially skeptical, was won over by Michael's passionate presentation. "This isn't just about business," Michael explained, showing slides of David's unfinished research. "This is about continuing a legacy of hope." Eleanor, who had been studying with a private tutor in an adjacent room, was invited to share her perspective. Her articulate explanation of her father's scientific vision left the board members stunned. At just 9 years old, she spoke with a clarity and depth that suggested a mind far beyond her years. Weekends became their special time. Michael learned to cook, surprising Elena with attempts at her father's favorite Mexican recipes. They would spend hours in his home laboratory, Elena showing an intuitive understanding of complex scientific concepts that continually amazed him. Therapy sessions helped Elena process her grief. The child psychologist noted her remarkable resilience, a combination of inherited scientific logic and emotional intelligence. She missed her father deeply, but was finding new ways to honor his memory. On the anniversary of David's passing, Michael surprised Elena with something extraordinary. He had collected and digitized all of David's research, creating a comprehensive archive that would be accessible to scientific researchers worldwide. "Your father's work will continue to save lives," Michael told her, watching her eyes fill with tears of both sadness and pride. The bond between them had become something more than guardian and ward. They were becoming a family, united by an unexpected connection and a shared commitment to making a difference. As Elena approached her 10th birthday, Michael realized how profoundly she had changed him. The cold, calculating businessman had transformed into someone capable of deep emotional connection, vulnerability, and genuine compassion. The adoption proceedings were finalized on a crisp autumn morning. Michael legally became Eleanor Rodriguez Hartley's father, a name change that symbolized not just legal recognition, but a true merging of their lives and legacies. The celebration was intimate. Maria, Rebecca the lawyer, Elena's school principal, and a few close colleagues gathered in the penthouse. Instead of a traditional birthday cake, they had a scientific-themed celebration with a cake designed to look like a molecular structure, reflecting Elena's passion. Elena's gift to Michael was unexpected. She presented him with a meticulously prepared scrapbook documenting their journey together. Photographs, scientific diagrams, handwritten notes that captured their evolving relationship. Each page told a story of transformation, of healing, of unexpected love. "You saved me," she whispered during a quiet moment, "just like you saved Daddy years ago." Michael's philanthropic efforts expanded. The David Rodriguez Foundation was established, providing support for young researchers, funding medical innovations, and creating scholarship programs for children who had lost parents to illness. Eleanor continued to excel academically. By age 11, she was taking college-level courses, her brilliant mind a testament to her father's legacy and Michael's nurturing. But more importantly, she was learning the value of compassion, of using knowledge to help others. Their story became an inspiration. Media outlets began covering their unique journey. A billionaire CEO who found purpose through an unexpected connection with a child who carried her father's extraordinary legacy. The media narrative wasn't just about Michael and Elena's personal story, but about a broader transformation of corporate social responsibility. Interviews revealed how a chance encounter on a rainy Chicago night had fundamentally reshaped not just one life, but potentially thousands through their combined efforts. Elena's first major public appearance was at a scientific conference where she presented her father's incomplete research. Standing at the podium, barely reaching its height, she captivated the audience with her intellect and emotional depth. Scientists who had known David Rodriguez were moved to tears, recognizing the continuation of his brilliant work through his daughter. Michael watched from the wings, no longer the detached executive, but a proud father witnessing his daughter's remarkable potential. The scientific community began to see him differently, not just as a businessman, but as a catalyst for meaningful change. Their home became a hub of innovation. Weekend workshops brought together young researchers, students from underprivileged backgrounds and established scientists. Michael used his resources to create opportunities that David would have never imagined possible. Eleanor's bedroom remained a testament to her journey. Photographs of her father alongside new memories with Michael, scientific awards, and a growing collection of research materials. Maria ensured it was a space of both remembrance and hope. As Elena approached her teenage years, the bond between her and Michael had become unbreakable. They were more than an adopted father and daughter. They were partners in a mission to honor David's memory and create meaningful scientific progress. The Rodriguez-Hartley Foundation expanded its reach, focusing on medical research, educational opportunities, and supporting families facing similar challenges to what David had experienced. Each initiative carried the DNA of compassion and innovation. By the time Elena turned 16, she had already published 2 groundbreaking research papers in peer-reviewed scientific journals. Her work, building upon her father's original research, showed promising developments in early cancer detection and personalized treatment protocols. Michael watched her growth with a mixture of pride and wonder. The little girl who had approached him on that rainy Chicago night had become a remarkable young woman, brilliant, compassionate, and driven by a purpose far greater than personal achievement. Their annual fundraising gala had become a significant event in the scientific and philanthropic community. This year, Eleanor would deliver the keynote address, a moment that would symbolize the full circle of their extraordinary journey. The night of the gala, Michael helped her adjust her blazer, a deep navy blue that reminded her of the uniform she had worn when they first met. Her speech would not just be about scientific achievement, but about the human stories behind medical innovation. Remember, Michael told her, your story is about more than research. It's about hope. Elena's presentation was a masterpiece of scientific storytelling. She spoke about her father's original research, the moment Michael had first supported his work, and how unexpected connections could change entire trajectories of human potential. The audience was captivated. Researchers, philanthropists, and corporate leaders listened as she transformed a personal narrative into a universal message of resilience and possibility. As she spoke, Michael reflected on the impossible journey that had brought them together. A chance encounter on a rainy night had rewritten both their lives, proving that compassion could be the most powerful algorithm of all. The scientific community's response to Elena's work was unprecedented. Major research institutions began collaborating with the Rodriguez-Hartley Foundation, recognizing that their approach went beyond traditional research models. They weren't just seeking scientific breakthroughs, but human-centered solutions that honored individual stories. Elena's 18th birthday became a milestone of reflection and celebration. Michael organized a private event that brought together the key people who had been part of their extraordinary journey. Maria, Rebecca the lawyer, Elena's childhood therapist, and several researchers who had worked closely with her father's original research. As a gift, Michael presented Elena with a fully restored and digitally enhanced collection of David Rodriguez's original research notebooks. Each page had been carefully preserved, annotated, and prepared as a comprehensive archive that would be donated to scientific institutions worldwide. Your father's legacy lives on, Michael told her, his voice thick with emotion. Not just through your work, but through the lives you'll continue to change. Eleanor's college plans were as unconventional as her background. She had been accepted to multiple top-tier universities, but was more interested in creating interdisciplinary research programs that bridged medical science with social innovation. The Rodriguez-Hartley Foundation had become a model for corporate philanthropy, demonstrating how business success could be measured not just in financial terms, but in human impact. Michael had transformed from a cold corporate executive to a visionary philanthropist, with Elena as his greatest inspiration. Their story continued to inspire. Documentaries, academic papers, and numerous media features explored how a single moment of human connection could reshape entire life trajectories. As Elena prepared for her university journey, she and Michael reflected on their remarkable path. The foundation they had built together was now a global model of compassionate innovation, supporting hundreds of young researchers and families facing medical challenges. Their annual scholarship program had become highly prestigious, supporting students who demonstrated not just academic excellence, but a commitment to using scientific innovation to address human suffering. Each scholarship carried David Rodriguez's name, ensuring his legacy continued to inspire new generations. Michael, now in his late 50s, had transformed from a corporate titan to a global humanitarian. His speaking engagements at international conferences focused on the intersection of technology, compassion, and human potential. Elena often accompanied him, their partnership a powerful testament to unexpected connections. The original medical diagnostic technology that David had developed had now been refined and expanded. Multiple iterations of the technology were saving lives in hospitals across multiple continents. Each implementation carried a small plaque honoring David Rodriguez's original vision. On the 20th anniversary of that rainy night, when they first met, Michael and Elena returned to the exact Chicago street corner where their journey began. The world had changed, they had changed, but the essence of their connection remained pure and transformative. Elena, now a renowned researcher and public speaker, understood that their story was about more than scientific achievement. It was about the power of human compassion, the unexpected ways lives intersect, and the profound impact of choosing empathy over indifference. As they stood together, Michael realized that the greatest investment he had ever made was not in technology or corporate strategies, but in the life of a small girl who had transformed his understanding of success.